Hello Longhorn.
Hello Longhorn.
Hello Longhorn.
Hello, Longhorn. This is the Texas Exes podcast introducing you to Longhorn entrepreneurs and business leaders. And today we have a College of Fine Arts grad, Hunter Regian. He got his BA here in theater and dance, and now he is a Broadway producer, has his own production company, Regian Entertainment, and he won a Tony. He was on stage. Like, I have photo proof on stage for Sunset Boulevard this year. So here's Hunter Regian. I would always start with, like, why did you choose the University of Texas? But I do want to say you are from Tyler, area code 903 on the phone. And my dad's from Tyler. And then you're from White House.
Yeah, White House, Texas.
And then you're the same age as Patrick Mahomes, who did not go to UT. So did you, go to high school with Patrick Mahomes?
We grew up together. So it was a lot of fun. He was an incredible inspiration our whole time at school. And then watching his trajectory has been so great. And I grew up as a gymnast cheerleader. And so his wife, Brittany, was always near me on the cheer team or that sort of
that's
thing.
cool.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you if you were a cheerleader in high school.
Yeah, I was not. I was actually a drum major for the band in high school. So I did that side of it. Didn't cheer at White House, but I was always a gymnast. So I was flipping around even in my drum major outfit.
My dad's going to be very excited. He listens to every podcast. And he is from Tyler and grew up on Lake Palestine when it was built. And so he's going to be like, yes, Tyler kid.
That's where I'll spend my 4th of July is Lake Palestine always.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so why did you choose the University of Texas?
Oh my gosh, UT was always my dream school. I felt like being from Texas, you always just had a huge excitement about UT. Everyone loved it. Hook 'em horns. My oldest brother did go to A&M, so I felt like there was a little bit of sibling rivalry in there, being like the oldest and the youngest. Like I had to change up the household a little bit, but always the opportunities, the resources. And then once I made the cheer squad, which I was a cheerleader here, that was a huge determining factor because I was so excited.
What do you have to do as a guy to audition to be on? Is it the Pom Squad now or the cheer squad?
Yeah, it's all cheer. So it's Texas Spirit has 4 squads, which are co-ed, the guys and the girls. You have all girl, you have the Pom Squad, which are the dancers, and then mascots as well. So that's all 4 under the umbrella of Texas Spirit.
But you were cheer.
Yeah, I was cheer and the co-ed cheer squad. And so basically I came in as a tumbler so I can flip and do backflips and all that sort of thing. And what they needed me to do was be able to lift people. So they were like, get in the gym, work it out, and grow. And so that's what I did and learned a lot while I was doing it.
So had you ever lifted people in high school?
Yeah, I had. Okay. Yeah. And so growing up in Tyler, of course, there's a lot of cheer programs around there, like Trinity Valley and Navarro. And so there's some good training mechanisms, but growing up as a gymnast, I already had sort of the body mechanics to understand how to lift. But that was the biggest learning curve for me.
So were you one of the people doing the flip for the score?
Yes, always.
So
always.
what was the most you ever had to do?
Oh my gosh. I think it was maybe we scored in the 50s sometime. I don't know. I can't remember, but it was a lot. And
was it hard?
Hot days. That's what they train for. It's like at each practice, you do sets of 5 standing back tucks, and that's to make sure that you're conditioned and ready to go. So I would say in the wool outfit, the fringe, it was definitely hot, but lots of pride for the school. So it just adds into the grit and the excitement of game day.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to have another cheerleader question in a second.
Please. That's my favorite. One of my favorite things to talk about.
Okay, good. But where did you live freshman year?
So I lived at Dobie.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was off-campus dorm, but it just worked a little bit better with my schedule because I had to stay here over the summer with cheer. So it was easy because I could get a summer deal and then stay at the same dorm. So.
Isn't it weird? I guess, was there a Target when you lived there? There's a Target in Dobie now.
It wasn't a Target. It was just a random mall down there. And then I think they installed the Target after. I would have been there every day.
Every single day.
I would have spent every dollar I had at Target. I wonder if they take Bevo bucks. Or...
And then you were a theater major.
Yes, I was. Bachelor of Arts, Theater and Dance with a focus in directing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you want to be a director or an actor?
Yeah,
or you were whatever happens?
Yeah, I kind of came into it with wanting to be a commercial dancer. I thought that's where I was going to go, to try and dance on Broadway or do something like that. And did a little bit of professional work outside of college, but the directing side and the creative side really excited me. And so I kind of went that way because it gave me a bigger opportunity to train in multiple disciplines. When you go just straight into acting or straight into dance, you don't really get to cross that boundary. Whereas directing, you can kind of pick what you're interested in and then make your semesters fit on that.
And so did you direct plays while you were here?
While I was here, I did with University Theater Guild and a few of the other student organizations. So it was great to have that ability. I was an assistant over at Zach Theater for their producing artistic director. So I kind of took it over into the professional world pretty quickly because I wanted to get paid and also
What?
And so I started with that, but
I'm actually surprised you would even get paid it, honestly, because I did radio and we just did stuff for free all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that even there were paid opportunities
I
in
think
college.
I think it was best of both worlds. Like some of it was volunteer to get into the room, and then
Sure.
once you can kind of prove your worth and say, I'm actually an employee here, it makes it a little bit easier to get that paycheck,
Right.
stipend maybe, but paycheck.
So you were doing cheer. Did you do any other student organizations?
So
or
cheer pretty much took up the
I would assume.
full time just because of practice and games. I was involved with a lot of the theater and dance organizations that were available, but mostly spent my time with cheer. And I was co-captain my junior year. So the year of, I think it was 15, 16 was my co-captain year. So got to travel all over the country with the co-ed squad and lots of practice and lots of friendships. It was the best.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I feel like y'all must all be best friends.
Yes, everyone's super close. And our favorite thing each year is some people are invited back to judge on tryouts. And so I get to judge tryouts each year.
Ooh.
It's such an honor and opportunity. I just remember my freshman year being so excited and seeing the judging panel. My heart was racing. And now to be a comforting energy and a positive energy for all those newbies coming in, it's so much fun.
That's
I love it.
almost as cool as being a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader judge.
So close. I know. I'm working my way up the tiers. I've just been watching America's Sweethearts all week. And
There
I was
is a Longhorn that's a judge,
Oh.
Kevin Curry.
okay, good to know.
He's the dude, and he wears a baseball cap.
Yeah.
And he's been a judge the past 2 years.
I need to
I'm
call
like,
him.
you need to be like, how did you get to be?
Yes.
And he's not a dancer, so they
Yes.
should have you.
Well, I feel like they have different criteria,
That's fair.
weather people, music people, they just need a theater person now,
Now they need a
Broadway
theater.
producer come through.
They do. What was okay? So when you were a cheerleader, when you look back, what was the best game that you cheered
Oh
at,
my
or your
gosh.
favorite experience?
I always loved Texas OU.
Okay.
And 2 of my years we won, and it was insane to be Red River rivalry, Cotton Bowl, intense. It's on football, you're cheering on turf a lot of the time, and that's like pure grass. Like there's just something like gritty about that grass, and it's like muddy and hot. It's just like classic football. And then I remember after we won one year, my parents were there with me, and so we walked through the fair, and my mom just kept being like, Texas, and then everyone around would be like, fight. And I just saw so much school pride that day. It gives me chills actually from that. And there were so many fun bowl games and fun, I always loved cheering Final Four
Yeah.
or March Madness stuff. It was fun to go kind of get out of class for a few weeks to go do that. But I would say Texas OU is always the best.
Okay, that's pretty cool. All right, so you graduated college.
Yes.
And you were working at Zach, or what did you do right out of college?
Yeah, so I was working at Zach at that time. I had kind of kept
which
my
is
job.
Zach Theater,
Zach
which is
Theater.
the local theater here
Yeah,
in
it's
town.
actually the oldest running continuously operating theater in Texas. So there's a lot
wow.
of really cool history there. I continued working for them and thought I was going to be dancing, thought I was going to sort of be on stage. That's kind of what I was pursuing at that time. And I wasn't in New York. I feel like to be a professional dancer, you kind of have to go to one of the big cities. And I was a little bit more timid towards that. And so I stuck around Austin, and I actually had a little Elle Woods moment and decided I was going to take the LSAT and go to law school. So I spent about 6 months after graduating UT studying for law school, and I ended up getting in. I had a successful
Baylor, right?
Yeah, to Baylor, and it was an exciting day, but it was that same day that I got an opportunity to move to New York.
And that opportunity, and so it kind of all ties back
Yeah, it
to
ties in.
Legally Blonde.
Yes, absolutely.
But when you were a student at UT, there was a time where 2 Broadway producers, or a director and a
Yeah, a
producer,
director and producer.
came to UT. Was that a program at UT in the theater
so
department?
we were in the theater department doing a workshop production of Legally Blonde, which the wonderful Jerry Mitchell, Tony Whitting, Jerry Mitchell directed.
And what's a workshop mean?
So a workshop means it's not a full-blown production. So
Okay.
it's a step back. Sorry, I should do the terminology.
No, I'm just going to be over here asking, like,
Good,
tell
good.
me that I don't have all the
Yeah, so
the
when
Broadway
we don't do
talk.
it with full set and full
Okay.
costumes, we call it a workshop, which means we're developing the production, working on the choreography, working on the lighting, things that would go into the full production if we ever did it.
Do people go watch a workshop, or
Yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of just practice?
I would say it depends on what the intention of the
Okay.
workshop is. This one was to allow for our musical theater students to be showcased in the show. Has a lot of great parts, and I actually played so many of the male roles in it. Like I played Kyle, the FedEx guy, and then this other thing. But I was also the assistant director. And Jerry, who's a Broadway director, came down to help us with this production.
And that's because what? Someone at UT had a connection?
Yeah, there was a connection there. And there's always some business going on in Austin. There's a lot of theatrical investors. And so I think that they were down here for some other meetings. And then it was able to stack on pretty naturally to invite them into the program. And so his producer, Dory Berenstein, came to see it as well. And I got my 5-minute opportunity to bring them some coffee, which was the moment that changed my life. Brought in the coffee. I was walking into Winship over here, shaking and just beaming with excitement. And
so somebody within the program said, hey, will you go get them coffee?
Yes.
And you said yes.
Basically, their handler for the day called me. My now producing partner, Natasha Davison, called and she said, I have a task for you. I was like, what is it? What is it? I remember I had a piece of newspaper in front of me, like not even notebook. And I grabbed a Sharpie and was like writing their order on the newspaper. So went and got them the coffee, came in and just brought my best energy, tried to, show off who I was. And I think when you lead with your heart, that kind of comes through. And Dory and I made an immediate connection right there. And I just told her, I said, if there's ever an opportunity to work for you or work with you, I would love to learn what a Broadway producer does. And what better way to learn than to jump right in. And so it took about a year for that to come to fruition. I think
Did y'all email throughout that year?
It was throughout that year that she continued working on a project that I was sort of connected with through some of my Austin investors. And so there was just a natural connection there. We became friends that day and hopefully future colleagues. And so I kind of remember letting go of that opportunity. I was like, oh, you put it out there, didn't really come back. And then, of course, when you put a lot of irons in the fire, a lot of those opportunities come back even on the same day. So I remember getting the Baylor opportunity with law school, but then also getting a call from New York saying, would you like to come and join us and work as an intern? And I remember calling my parents that day and being like, hi, plans have changed. I'm actually going to try and move to New York. And UT did a great job of helping me out. I got an internship scholarship to cover my room and board while I went.
So you were still a student.
So it was after I was a student, but it was still that summer after. So it kind of made it a little bit more comfortable for them to support me in like my post-grad career. So
Very
it was a really cool support system that really allowed me to jump into that career and go full force and not worry too much about money because it was an unpaid internship at the time. How do you get to New York and pay for your apartment in Austin when you weren't planning to move? That was a great use of resources. And I was just so thrilled that I got that honor and opportunity.
So 2 comments. Number 1, cup of coffee. My girlfriend was a bunch of assistants for big time people, Nora Ephron and other people in Hollywood.
Yes.
Movie director, Nora Ephron. And she always talks about when she's trying to hire assistants, the importance of getting a cup of coffee. Because sometimes people will think, oh, I'm just getting the cup of coffee. But if you can't get the coffee order right, then you're not going to be able to do anything else right. And so I think sometimes people look down on it when actually it's such an opportunity to show that you can rise to the occasion.
Yes. Well, I mean, use your ears, use your resources, get the things done you need. And I think the special little surprise and delight was my first day of my internship in New York. I came to her office to have my orientation and brought her coffee order from a year before. And I remember walking in, she saw that and she was like, wow, that was special. And I always tell that to people that I'm mentoring. It's like, just remember that little thing, keep it in your phone and do it when it's unexpected. The coffee order may have changed, but she remembered how specific it was then. And it was a great first moment. She mentions it all the time. It's very special.
It's funny because I also can think in the moment, like I would be nervous doing that. I'd be like, oh, she's going to make, I don't know. I would be like, oh, is this stupid? Is it weird that I know her coffee order? Is she going to be like, why did you do that?
No.
Maybe she already had her coffee.
No, go for it. Go for it. Show you were thinking, make it special wherever you can. For sure.
Okay, so what did that look like? So you went up there to go be an intern on the prom.
Yes, the prom.
And what were you doing on a daily basis?
It was crazy. It was a very, very busy time because usually in a lead producer's office, which the lead producer is the head honcho of the show. They sort of own the show.
And that's what she was.
That's what she was.
She was the lead producer and you were assisting her.
Correct.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of producers involved in every show, which come in creative forms or financial forms, different things.
Yeah, but how many producers could be involved in one show?
Oh my gosh. Maybe the limit does not exist, really.
Okay.
It's like however much the show needs fundraising wise is how many co-producers they'll bring on at certain shares to make it, a large family. Usually there's a max of about 4 lead producers on a show. Those can be production companies or individuals, and they sort of run the LLC. So each show is a business, right? You think of it as a business and it has an org chart just like anything else does. And it starts at the top with the lead producers who act as sort of the artistic producer and the financial producer, and they hire different agencies out, whether that's press or marketing or the director, the cast. Those are all different agencies that all answer back to the lead producers.
Okay.
And so it's a pretty interesting structure. So how that looked for me was I became a voice for this office, right? Dory had a lot of irons and a lot of fire. She had a lot of meetings going on, a lot of plans, preparation, all of that. And so I was the intermediary between her and those agencies and investors, different things. So I learned a lot about communication, a lot about organization, tried and failed a lot of the time, which she was very open to giving me feedback, and it kind of jumped in pretty fast because prom really needed a centric voice for their representation. Both her and Bill Damashki, who is his partner, who is her partner on the prom, worked for both of them, and it was a great crash course experience.
So you're just like in an office. Were you in the theater too?
Yeah. So in the theater, it depends on what day it was.
Okay.
You know, I'd be at press events, I'd be at the office, answering emails in the morning, making sure coffee orders are good, making sure that their agendas are set. Whether Bill was flying the red eye from LA to New York, he's currently the president of Warner Brothers Animation, so he had a big LA job. Dory is a bona fide theatrical producer, and she does some documentary directing as well. So it was like getting them both to the office was its own task, right?
Yeah.
Making sure that the flights went well, that she was driving in from Westchester, you know, all of that, set the day up. And whether it was meetings, whether it was as we were pitching the show still, we would invite investors into the office to watch the archive of the show. So I would manage those relationships and make sure everyone was happy and have their lunch order. Some days when we got into rehearsal or got into the theater, we would be in the studios, or during a tech day where you're seeing all the lights and Bill may have a meeting somewhere else. So I would sit in for him and make sure that everything was going well, because ultimately it's their money out the door paying for this thing to happen.
Dang,
So
is that the hardest thing to get, is your foot in the door?
I think, yes, I would say so.
Because if I said, I want that job, how do you get that job?
I think that it was a great opportunity for me because I had them, you know, Dory and Jerry in my space here in Austin. And so I got to show my best form of myself here, which made a lasting impression. I would say for others that may not have that interconnection here in Austin, getting to New York and meeting the right people, or if there are resources here in Austin like myself or other theatrical producers or investors, that sort of thing, you can ask the right questions and say, how can I support? How can I learn? And it gets you into the room that way.
So after that experience, you stayed in New York, or you go in what was the next?
Yeah, the next thing. So I made it through the prom opening, which we opened in November of 2018, which was great. And then basically what's next after opening is you keep on top of the press to make sure that the show stays at the forefront of people's minds. So that was through the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, which was a great opportunity for us. And then especially through the Tony Awards campaign. So as we head through the spring, about February all the way until June, there's a massive campaign, a lot of ad dollars spent on how to make the show win the Tony and how to get a nomination. And so we ended up not winning a Tony for that show, sadly, RIP to that, but we did get 7 nominations. So I managed that Tony campaign, whether that's print materials or specific asks or parties or different things.
Is that a big job for someone at 21, 22?
Yeah, it was a really, really big job, but you know, who else was going to do it than someone that was in that office and knew the show and had a very, very close connection with the show. So the ways that the Tony voters can remember the show is through those little moments, whether it's little memories, it's little things to remind them, harken back to that night that they saw the show and be like, hey, vote for us.
And this is what's also happening with the Oscars and the Emmys.
Always,
There's
always.
campaigns for the shows so that the voters vote the way everybody wants them to vote.
Absolutely. And so at that same time, around summer of 2018, right when I started the internship, Moulin Rouge was doing its out-of-town tryout in Boston, and Bill was the lead producer of that. So for a Broadway show, before you take it to the big stage, before it gets reviewed and everyone sees it and you lock the show, meaning you can't change anything creatively because there's IP involved and rights and all of that, you take it out of town first. So usually that's somewhere like Boston. Sometimes it can be anywhere across the US. Sometimes it's happened here in Austin, which is really cool.
Or like, yeah, I think in Chicago at the Steppenwolf
Oh,
or
totally,
something
totally.
for a
Good
play.
Speed, yeah,
or,
Goodspeed, Steppenwolf, La Jolla, Stages St. Louis. These are all great tryout houses. And so the Colonial Theater in Boston did their grand reopening for Moulin Rouge in the summer of 2018, which I was involved adjacently to that because of my relationship with Bill. But later in the fall is when I got hired full-time onto Moulin Rouge. So I was kind of managing both at the same time as an associate producer for the Moulin Rouge producers, which were in our same office, as well as the prom. So I would say as we got to prom, Tony Award campaign, say June of that year, Moulin Rouge was really starting to kick in heavy because we had an August opening. So by the time that we actually got to the Tony campaign and we got to the Tonys, my first time going was so special. I was already moved on to the next project and trying to make sure Moulin Rouge, which I compare the two from prom and Moulin Rouge to say prom was sort of our grassroots, heartfelt musical, and Moulin Rouge is this big, mega, massive thing. And so I got the best of both worlds, learning how to do both, and it was a great time.
So cut to now you have your own production company, Regian Entertainment, and so you are a co-producer on Sunset Boulevard, which just won a Tony.
Yes.
You were also co-producer on Gypsy, right?
Yes, those are my two Broadway this season.
And so you mentioned there's a couple lead producers for a show, and then there can be a lot of co-producers.
Yes.
So, okay. So I'm going to just guess as to what your role right now is, as you mentioned, it's mostly fundraising. Like you're committing to bringing a certain amount of money because Broadway shows are crazy expensive. And they don't make money all the time.
Yes.
I would assume often they don't make money.
Yes, that's actually the trend. And so we're trying to change that up a little bit.
Okay, so like you have to go find money on something that you're just saying, hey, this is for the arts, the greater good.
Yes.
Is that kind of?
I think how I do it and why I opened my business was because I feel like I understand why a lot of people are interested in the arts and what makes them sparkle about what we do on stage. And so, yes, it's a large amount of fundraising. There's a lot of money brought in for each show. We're currently producing around 10 shows at the moment.
You are right now. You're involved in 10 shows.
10 shows, yes.
And is that people saying, hey, we want you to be involved? Or are you saying, hey, I want to be involved?
It's usually people want me to be involved. And so it's usually an invite relationship. So you have a relationship with the lead producer or someone that has a new idea for a show or has been developing it for a while. And so it's that symbiotic relationship of you need the funds. I'm very interested in that way. We've built a personal connection as well. And so that's when I hit the ground running and get those investments in. But I would say the sparkle that comes from other people can be a vast array of different things. It could be a love for the arts. It could be an educational aspect, like spreading education, awareness about certain issues or social justice or particular areas of interest. And so if a show hits that button for someone, then you're like, here's a direct access to that. Sometimes it's purely financial and they're like, yes, we would like this money back. And, we hope that every time. But when they invest and they join the team, we want to say, we want to celebrate what that feels like right now to push this work of art forward.
So you're managing all of the people that you're bringing in.
Correct.
You're kind of managing just what they need and expectations and communication. And then what are you doing on the actual production as a co-producer? Do you get to like sit in and provide feedback?
Absolutely. There's a lot of different roles that co-producers have, and it depends on your strengths, right? Like co-producers usually have expertise in a variety of backgrounds depending on what they do in their day job. With co-producing, you don't make a lot of money until the show makes money because your investors make 100% back first before you see anything. So it's a really cool, transparent opportunity for people to invest and me not feel like I'm exploiting them for that investment. It's just saying, I love this piece a lot and I would love for us all to share in that profit eventually if and when we get to that profit. And so actually on the shows, I manage a lot of the events for the shows.
So like for Sunset Boulevard.
For Sunset Boulevard, we hosted we hosted the opening night pre-party for our investors plus the creative team and their teams as well. So it was a very special thing over at the Lambs Club. Just last week, we hosted the after party for the Tonys. And so it was the official Sunset Boulevard after party.
Y'all did?
Me and my business partner, Chris, as well as Natasha Davison, all Texans. We all came together to make sure our cast felt taken care of and wanted to love on them through this party. And so it was fun. Had about 400 people there dancing the night away with all the Tony Award trophies around. So that's where my specialty comes in, with an event background from Zach Theater, as well as, kind of being around the cheer program. There were a lot of those sort of alumni events and mixers. And so you can understand what the production takes to do it at somewhere like UT. I'm going to bring that level of expertise to what I do for the shows.
Thanks for like answering all these questions because I'm going all over the place because
I'm
it's such
following.
a world
It
that
is.
we
It's
don't
crazy.
know about.
Yeah.
So, okay, a couple things. Number one, is the goal eventually that your name and your company you're attached to all these great shows. They do really well. And then one day you'll just work your way up to be lead producer.
Yeah. So the goal this season, so this has been my inaugural season. So I opened the business in September.
It's like your debut.
Yes. It's debutante. It's a little
Yeah.
debut, of course. And so the big piece there is you have to validate yourself and know that you pick hits, you know that you treat your investors correctly. Everyone loves to be a part of it. And I've created a brand surrounding that because all of my investors are Texas based.
Yeah.
And so our brand is we bring the y'all of it all to Broadway. And so people ask what that is. And I'm like, it's Southern hospitality. It makes it fun. When our Texas crew walks in the room, they're like, there's the one from Texas. Like we know they're here.
Yeah.
And so that allows for our Texas investors who typically would invest in Texas, right? Like you want to invest in your own communities or your own state, things that are going on here. It allows them to have this cohort of people to travel with and come with us whenever we go. I head to London for a Vita opening on Thursday. And so we have a group of about 15 to 20 people all from Texas there, and we get to, celebrate and bring the y'all of it all
Is
right
that
to London.
different? Like, are you different? Like in the sense of because you're young, you're 29 and you are from Texas and you're leaning on that.
Yeah.
Does that make you like,
It differentiates a lot,
I mean, is
think.
there somebody over there from Oklahoma that's like, we're the Oklahoma team?
There actually is. Yeah, there actually is. And that's why we're doing Queen of Versailles with Kristen Chenoweth this fall.
Oh, because she's from Oklahoma.
Yeah, and she's from Oklahoma. So we have a huge group of Oklahomans ready to work. And so it's great. Everyone can kind of find their tribe, but then we all come together and it's like a feeling of inclusivity. It makes it really cool. Not just your same New York investors, which are all great. We love everyone that's done this before.
Are there young people? I guess that's the thing is like, I think of there's an old guard, I assume. And I'm even watching the Gilded Age right now.
Yes, me
which
too.
Is about
Me too.
Is about the old money and new money.
Yeah.
And so is there an old guard and a new guard? Or is everybody like, are you young or is it just no?
I feel like I'm young. Yes. I think that a lot of people my age have a desire to do this. They may just not have like the financial backing or the ability to bring people together in the way that I have. And
because it's how does even one do that? There's no how did you even figure out how to do that?
You just listening and learning.
Okay.
I think I coming back to Zach Theater and working in the nonprofit world during the pandemic, which I left Moulin Rouge to do because Broadway shut down. There was no job for me there. I came back and learned the art of the ask and really making people the center, making others the center of the conversation rather than I have these dreams, I want to do these things, support me. It was like, with my access to these shows, how can I support you and your dreams? You have a need to help people or change their lives because of your financial involvement. This is a direct way that you're going to see someone make their Broadway debut or someone's vision come to life. And we're all going to cry and hold hands and be like, we did this together. And that's a way easier ask than, just support me.
That's so cool.
Had to switch that a little bit.
That's really cool. So, so you had 10 projects.
Yeah, 10 projects right now. So that's the validating stage, right? I took on a lot more than I thought I was going to because of people's
like
interest.
A lot.
It is a lot, but they're spread out and each serves a different lane. So this year for Broadway, we were in the musical revival category. Revival means it's been done before, so we're reviving it. And so that was a pretty interesting thing to learn because we're not birthing a whole new show.
Yeah.
You're kind of not relying, but I would say building on the legacy that's already been created.
It's an Andrew Lloyd Webber show or Gypsy, like you were involved in. People know the show.
Yeah, and usually with the star attached just to help us out a little bit.
Nicole Scherzinger.
Yeah, she's great. And then we've got Audra McDonald. Yeah, Audra's great. And then did some Shakespeare over in the West End. We did The Tempest with Sigourney Weaver, as well as Much Ado About Nothing with Tom Hiddleston from The Avengers. And that was actually the highest grossing play in the West End in a single week in history.
Whoa.
So think that Shakespeare in London serves a very different purpose than musical revival on Broadway. Have My Master Builder, which is a brand new play with Ewan McGregor running right now in the West End. And then Evita opening up with Rachel Zegler this week. And so there's some more in there, but each of those, as you can see, kind of serve a different lane. Each one we can learn something different from. If I was offering the same show or the same type of show for each investment, we wouldn't be able to take data from that. I think we compare Sunset Boulevard now to when that will leave. We bring in Queen of Versailles, which is Kristen Chenoweth and Stephen Schwartz in a brand new musical. And that's at the St. James. So we can directly compare those two numbers and say, this is how Sunset Boulevard performed. This is how a brand new musical with someone like Stephen Schwartz writing it from Wicked pulled those together. And we can learn from those two things and say, which one would we rather do?
So you're almost like a hedge fund.
Sort of.
But not really, but like you're helping your investors in a portfolio of businesses. And you just said the word data. It's not all feelings. Right. You're actually taking data points.
Well, and that's the only reason why I would do so many of these shows at this time because I think you can do 2 or 3 and get the fulfillment on the feeling side. But I am really trying to learn and have a data set to be able to say, okay, we know in London, Shakespeare with a big actor and running for a certain amount of weeks does really well. And what's our data set? We beat the historic record. Like that's something that I can point to exactly.
That's awesome. Versus
like, oh yeah, we won the Tony for Sunset, but how is the show doing and what did we need to do better in that? Or how could we have done this or that?
Yeah.
And that, to me, as a lifelong student, try to learn as much as I can. Only being in the room can you learn, because those numbers are pretty held close. I would say it's pretty confidential on a lot of the information. So unless you're an actual buy-in to the team, it's a little bit harder to get that.
So like, what's the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal would be to be a lead producer this next season.
Oh, wow.
So I've got right now, big news we announced last week is I'm lead producing alongside my business partner, Chris Kettner, a fellow Texan. We are doing the 50th anniversary of a chorus line at the Schubert Theater. It's a one night only event.
That's in New York.
It will be in New York.
Is that where the chorus line was?
Yes.
Okay. Originally?
It was the longest running show on Broadway, opened in 1975, and we're doing it 50 years in 2 days after the initial opening. We've got 5 of the original cast members and a lot of really cool, exciting other casts. So it's basically passing the legacy down from those original to who play those roles now all over the world. So it's very special, but little things like that. I didn't take on a full Broadway show to lead produce. We took on a one night only event, which is still very expensive to get into the theater and get everyone, but that will validate me then to say, okay, he took this step, he did the co-producing thing, got something like the Tony Award, which is great, and then took a step in a lead producing for a one night only. Now he's ready to take on a big chunk, which is a major fundraising step, but also a major creative step to say the buck stops with me the second that I make that decision about what lighting apparatus we're going to use or what actress we're going to go with or something like that.
As a lead producer, you get to help do all of that stuff.
And so that's what's fun about it, because you run the LLC. So ultimately the goal is to be a steward for your financial supporters, but also be a steward of the creative vision of the director that you've hired or the writers. And so that's that beautiful like puzzle, I think, is what I love so much. And so I've needed to go learn all the pieces of the puzzle first. That started, almost 10 years ago with my internship situation. Like I had to sit there and listen and learn stuff like the coffee order, all the way up to how do you manage a Tony campaign? How do you book tours? How do you pitch this? And use my nonprofit world a little bit to learn how to perfect that pitch, come back to it now and bring the joy and the energy into it, which I think is what a lot of people are missing, especially in the quote unquote old guard. People are tired. This is a really hard business. So if you can come in with a smile, be bright, be excited, be a problem solver, bring your solutions, it makes it a lot more fun for everyone.
And you live both here and New York?
Yes, I do. It's a very busy time right now because the business is based here. I need to spend time with my investors. I have new workshops being built here at UT with Texas Performing Arts. So over the last month, we've done 2 brand new shows.
So again, let's talk about that. You're doing 2 new shows, and they were workshops. So ideally, one day they're like little babies.
They're little babies right now,
and you're trying things out, and then you're gonna hopefully find a space for them. Will it be Broadway or will it could be? It could be anything.
It could be anything. There's a multitude of ways a show can go. And now that I've learned so much about the West End and London and the way that those financials work, which are a little bit more secure than Broadway because there's government subsidies built in, and so you can kind of guarantee a return. You don't never say guarantee, but you can hope for a return, an easier return. So how you can build the shows from something like UT, where one week was a script workshop. So we hired about 6 actors and all read the script out loud and heard it for the first time. That's a very different stage than getting something on its feet with choreography and dancing and lights, costumes, which is what we did for the next round for a new Christmas musical called True North. Give them a little shout out.
And did you find the script? You found it? You read it? Like, are people sending you?
Yeah, people are submitting every day. It's so interesting when you give people the opportunity to share what they're passionate about, whether that be through my website or reaching out through social media. It's like so many people have ideas for a show. And so what do I want to spend my time devoting my financial structure to, my personal passion and energy to? Because I think if it comes into my family of projects, I'm going to focus on it almost 24/7. Like, even though there's a lot to focus on, it's all kind of running at the same time in my mind. So for those, it's providing a runway for these incredible artists to build their best work before we have to take on a financial burden for that.
Okay.
So through our University of Texas partnership with TPA, we're able to take donations and support new work through that way rather than take loans too early in a process. You don't want to encumber the show with a lot of debt before you even get to your stage.
Yeah.
And so it's been a huge blessing, and I'm just so lucky to be on campus at UT, and gives me a reason to be here and say hook 'em horns every day.
For sure.
Love
So
it.
your goal ultimately is to have a show that you're a lead producer on, and then you're up there on the Tony stage.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, I would hope by next year. I think that's the goal. I have 2 or 3 that are in the pipeline right now. That if
this moves quick.
Yes, it does move quick. But the fact is you've got to just go with it. Like if there's something that's the right vibe and it's the right team, and you can get behind it and truly raise the money. Ultimately, the piece is that when you're the lead producer, that's when you have to answer to those financials and those creative decisions and those things. Whereas like a co-producer, you're sort of a middleman there. You can kind of toe the line a little bit and say, oh, well, those were their decisions. It's like when you're the one making the decisions, you can't really say that.
Sure.
So there's some risk factor there, but I think it gives me a sense of pride and honor to be a younger person kind of trying to step into that world. But it's big money, it's big shows, it's Broadway. I mean, it's the biggest stage in the world. So you gotta keep some keep a gauge on it too, just to make sure that you keep yourself in check.
So I think I'm going to New York City in the fall. This interview is going to air in September.
Perfect.
What should I go see if I go around the holidays? Are you going to have a show?
Yeah. So Queen of Versailles will have just opened.
That'll be with Kristen.
You have to see that. And so the brand new original musical, it's based on a documentary of 2012 about one of the richest families in America and them trying to build a scale model of Versailles in Orlando, Florida. And then the 2008 recession hits and it all kind of goes
that on
a little
Netflix?
crazy. It was on, I think it's on Netflix and maybe like Prime or something
Like that.
But you need to check it out.
I remember the picture, and I've seen like researching. I've seen it, so but I never watched the documentary. So should I watch the documentary?
You should
go
watch
see
it.
the
It's
show?
a very profound documentary, but people are like, how is this going to be turned into a musical? You're like, just wait. Like it's Stephen Schwartz, Kristen Chenoweth, 22 years later after Wicked, and this is what they've produced. So Kristen's a producer on it as well. We have so many, the writer, Lindsay Ferrantino, is a very close friend of mine. And then Michael Arden, who just won the Tony for Best Director on Maybe Happy Ending, who's actually from Texas as well.
Oh, wow.
He is directing Queen of Versailles too. So we're so excited.
So do you go see every single Broadway show?
Yes. Yeah, I try to. There's
Do
a few.
you ever get tired of it? And like after I've seen so much improv, after a while, I'm like, oh, God. Like I don't want to see bad improv.
Yeah.
This is Broadway, so it is all good. But yeah, do you have to see everything? And
I
does
don't
it
have
become a
to.
job at some point?
It does in some sense. Like I think when I bring people from out of town, I have a little bit more fun with it. Like feels like vacation a little bit more. But when I go by myself, I usually have a notebook. I do an index card after every show that I keep in the playbill. So I like write down what my initial thoughts were, what I would have changed, if there were any outstanding cast members. And so for every playbill that I've ever seen, I keep an index card. And
so then you can go back and be like, I saw this person.
Yes.
They were in the background, but they were really good.
Absolutely.
And wow.
And that's the agency that I love to give people with this newfound opportunity I have producing is you have more access to say like root for certain people and say I've watched them work, I've watched them make their steps to get to where they need to be now. I'm going to advocate for them where I can, and it brings me so much joy.
That's really cool. So you see every show.
I see every show. I'm a member of the Broadway League, which is the supporting team for the Tonys as well as all of the Broadway shows. It's kind of our overarching governing body over Broadway. And so I'm a member this year. I'm not a Tony voting member yet. That's the goal.
How does one become a Tony voting member?
You raise a certain amount of money. You become a lead producer is one way, or you raise a certain amount of money as a co-producer. And that way you're required to see every show. So I think that's when it will become a little bit more of a job.
And then do you get to see them for free
you
if
do
you're
get
required?
To see, you do get to. You get 2 seats for every show, but you have to log when you went to see the show to be able to vote in that category. Okay. So it's like you can't vote for Best Musical if you didn't see all 7 Best Musical nominees. And so that'll be an exciting next step. But right now I try and train myself as to what I will be when I'm a Tony voter, to take good notes, to make sure that I leave with something that I didn't have when I came. And it's all been special.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it.
What's your favorite Broadway show?
Oh my gosh.
Like, that
Take a sip. I could say like
And just like maybe when you were a kid.
Yeah, when I was a kid.
Not now when you're in the business,
Yeah,
but when you were a
when
kid.
I was a kid, Phantom of the Opera definitely
Really?
brought me into this business. My dad plays the piano and sings and would always sing Phantom of the Opera around the house, and then saw the movie, of course, and then went to see the Broadway show, and I was obsessed. That show taught me how to sing. I would sing the soundtrack every day on the way to school, every part. I still could sing basically every part of the show. And so now to work with Andrew Lloyd Webber on Sunset Boulevard has been so special.
Yeah,
It
what was that like the first time that you realized you were gonna get to meet him? This kid from Tyler,
Yes.
let's just say
Like
White
geeky-
House,
yeah,
like Tyler.
geeking out. I mean, it's just been, it was kind of, I wanted to expect it. Like I wanted to work with the greats at some point. So you kind of have to get out of being a fan at some point. But the second that I saw him the very first time and he attended one of our parties in New York, I was like, my heart was racing.
Were you like calling
crazy.
your dad?
Yes,
Dad,
of course.
I just met him.
Yes. And I think that's been the most special thing because my parents didn't know where this journey would lead as
Sure.
well. And
I'm sure they were terrified.
Yeah, of course. And they've been such a proponent of my artistic journey. You know, they've let me explore when I've needed to explore. They've supported me both on, let's say, a law school route, but also a Broadway producer route. They've been so helpful. And so to be able to report back and say, oh my gosh, I met the guy that basically created this whole universe for me to live in and learn to love musicals was so special.
Well, thanks for coming in. Okay, so if people are going to New York in the fall, will Sunset Boulevard and Gypsy still be happening?
Sunset Boulevard will close in July. So it's a limited
okay.
run, July 20th. So go see, this won't air before then,
Yeah.
but definitely see it.
Should have seen it.
You should have seen it. See it when Gypsy will still be running at that time.
Okay.
So yeah, go see Miss Audra McDonald in the performance of a lifetime. It
Yep.
really is special. At that time, Queen of Versailles will have just gotten going. And so definitely check out Queen of Versailles. And there'll be some other West End projects going on at that time too. So if you're in London, see a show.
Okay. And so some UT questions now
Okay,
at the end.
let's do it.
So you lived at Dobie.
Yes.
So I don't need to ask that again.
Yeah.
What was your favorite place to go get food around campus?
Good one. I was like such a Tiff's treats person. Like I feel like I was at Tiff's every day, and it was such a cheer thing too to like bring chocolate chip cookies to cheer. So I feel like I was there.
I love that y'all ate cookies because y'all also worked out so much.
Yes.
You probably could eat whatever you
You've
wanted.
you've got to have both.
I will say it's my favorite thing. The cheerleaders come into our building at Texas Exes. As you said, you used to come here as a cheerleader all the time.
Our favorite pep rally is Texas Exes,
for
of
the
course.
pep rally, and they'll do it in 2 different areas at our building. And then we have food, and the cheerleaders, the little girls, will go and they will pile that plate up with all the mac and cheese and all the brisket. And I'm like, yeah, I love that.
That's good. It's awesome. I loved coming over here to Texas Espresso. It would always be here, and then Cabo Bob's was my other go-to.
Yeah, it's like the most affordable burrito.
Yes, please.
A huge amount of food.
Come through.
For a good amount.
But I would say shout out Tiff's always. Like we just got some Tiff's the other day for one of our workshops, and I was like, everyone in this room has to try a Tiff before they go, and so it was great.
And then do you have like a favorite memory?
A favorite memory would be, I love all my cheer memories. I think I hold them very close, like cheering for 100,000 people that all have this like same grit and passion was so special. I would say my year we switched for the Texas OU game. We switched the main flag Excalibur to be white with an orange Longhorn. And I remember like ordering the flag and being part of that. It feels like producing a Broadway show. We were like, the flag has to be ready. And then watching it like run and they still have that same flag. I'm like, I ordered that.
You're like, I put in the credit card information.
Yes. No, so something like that where you know that you made like an effective change, even if it's something physical like a flag or
you are part of the tradition.
Yeah, the legacy there. And so I get to come back, and people that come to game days with me are like, oh my gosh, you're so obsessed. I didn't know you had this like sports drive. And I'm like, yeah, it's sports, but it's mostly about this university. Like I love being here. I love the energy. I love the people that I have met and still continue to work with. So it's more like that pride gets to be on display on a game day. And so.
I also think as cheerleaders, it's cool the community y'all have, and you'll have reunions and you'll get to go back on the field. And there was a lady here when I first started 2 years ago that was a cheerleader when the skirts went down to the floor.
The best.
And she still is just immaculate. And her outfit was just immaculate. Yes. And it was so cool.
So much pride. And there's been so many cool opportunities to get involved with the Alumni Association for cheer, and able to open a new practice facility for the cheerleaders, sort of leave it better than you found it, and be able to get them scholarship money or be able to do a new food program for them or things like that, that like resources we didn't have when I was a cheerleader that we were trying to fight for are now in place and a reality for so many of our cheerleaders, which is a huge organization, one of the oldest student organizations on campus. So I love that little bit. And it's one of the first things I say when I meet someone. Like, I was a cheerleader at UC.
You are a cheerleader. What advice do you have for a student?
A student would be use your resources. I think UT, it has this plethora of opportunities, resources, and you can kind of get lost in the mix if you don't go and seek out those people that are there to support you. One of my closest professors, Natasha Davison, she was one of my dance professors in the theater department. She's someone that I still work with daily. And
and she still works here?
Yeah, she does.
Okay.
Yeah, she's on faculty for School of Creative Design and Technology. And I lecture in the class, her first class every semester. I come in and the guest speaker. And just those resources, like even personal resources or the many programs, the many things to do, like stake your claim in those resources and use them, because that's a hot commodity when you leave here. I think it's like to have someone to be there to go through this journey with you or give you the things that you need to get there, like use that.
And so is she one of your favorite professors?
Okay. Definitely. I would say she was incredible. Charles Anderson, who was one of our dance professors. I just had such a joy in dance class because it just allowed me to use my body. And so I feel like a lot of my special memories were growth from that, because I had a little bit of stage fright, or going into the dance program, you're kind of nervous to step into those shoes. And they were like, no, you earned your spot to be here, like go for it. And so even though I'm not actively using my creative side with my physical body, I can inspire others with my words and my ability to speak about their art.
Well, cool. Well, thank you.
Yes, this was great.
Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns, baby.
I should
Hook
do
'em.
this. Why am I? Hook 'em horns. No, hook 'em
It's like
horns.
a Broadway with like a little
Hook 'em
hook.
horns. Spirit fingers.
Thank you so much
Cool.
for having me. This was a joy.
Yeah.